We're back with Congressman Aaron Schock, and Congressman, we don't have long, but I do want to ask you, do you have any favorites among the Republican candidates for the president?
Well, at this taping, I do not. I have not chosen a candidate to get behind. What I've said to the Republican candidates that have called me is that I'm a Republican because I believe in competition and the free market, and I want them to compete. I think it's a little early right now, quite frankly. Our primary here in Illinois is in March, so we've got a good 4 or 5 months before we have to make a decision. And I think a lot of the field will clear between now and March. I think you're going to see a significant number of the candidates have to drop out. There may potentially be another candidate getting in. And so until that field is solidified and we get a chance to kind of kick the tires a little bit more, I'm not ready to endorse a particular candidate. I will say I've enjoyed watching the debates, and I feel pretty confident that whomever my party nominates will be a great alternative to the current occupant.
Are you hearing plans from any of the candidates at this point that you think you can get behind, that you support? For example, more than one candidate has talked about a national sales tax. Is that something you could support?
Well, as a part of tax reform, certainly. We've talked about going to a flat tax. They've talked about, I think Herman Cain has talked about going to a sales tax and you get rid of the personal income tax.
He's talking about a combo,
He's
right?
999, I think is his plan. Yeah, I'm open to any of those discussions as a part of making our country more competitive. Right now, we have the highest corporate tax rate in the industrialized world. That is certainly not a way to attract entrepreneurs and investment from world investors. But I think our candidates are putting out good ideas. The overriding theme, of course, is we got to deal with our entitlements and we got to deal with overspending. And that's simply something that our current president hasn't been serious the last 3 years about dealing with.
When you say he hasn't been serious, what can he do? Okay, let me rephrase the question quickly. Democratic president battling a Republican-controlled House.
Well, a couple things. First of all, the first 2 years he was president, he had total control in the House and the Senate. Discretionary spending went up 86% a year his first 2 years. We went from spending a deficit spending of $200 billion, the average, the 8 years of President Bush, which they overspent by $200 billion on the average, to $1.5 trillion in the red, and now $1.6 trillion in the red each year. Dramatic increases in overspending. And so the House now is pretty adamant about cutting spending, and if the president's serious about dealing with the debt, he's going to have a very able and equal partner in the House.
Thank you again for joining us today, Congressman Schock.
Great.
It was enlightening, but very brief. Remember, you can see today's show in its entirety on our website, thepeorian.com, immediately following this broadcast. And join us next week right here on WHOI when state politics will be center stage. Have a good week.
Música